callers.
He's our unquestioned quarterback, guys. Like, as long as he continues to show the way his preparation, the way he's been practicing, and even in these games, guys, like, he's not the reason why we lost yesterday. It's always a team effort.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo. Hear the passion.
Be aggressive. Get something done.
Hear the knowledge.
The game, folks, is about two plays, and that's what it comes down to.
Hear the personality.
I'm going to start here in an angry mood.
Got somebody on the radio that has made him a sports talk legend.
Does that make any sense to you? Guys, you're crazy.
It's Mad Dog Unleashed with Christopher Russo. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, or anytime on the SXM app. Free with Christopher Mad Dog Russo. Activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Swan, as it was, is it as simple as we think it is?
It's probably the most representative of where I was at in my life when I put something out.
The world needs Beyonce and Lizzo together. Like, Beyonce has all the control in that dynamic. It's about damn time.
Hear intimate, exclusive interviews anytime and anywhere.
Just search Hits One-on-One on the SXM app.
Included with all trials and popular plans.
To hear Hits One, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
Explore these channels and more across SiriusXM and in the SiriusXM app. Just search Relax.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
Hey everybody, I'm Andy Cohen. Hear me and my awesome lineup on Radio Andy. Andy Cohen Live.
Gail King in the house.
Jeff Lewis Live.
It's Me Tinks. Smith Sisters Live. Sandyland.
The Jess Cagle Show.
Make It Nice.
Reparations.
From pop culture, music to show-stopping moments.
Kelly Ripa. Ed Sheeran. Jennifer Lopez. Kevin Hart. Lil Nas X. Kelly Clarkson. I do want to do a duet with you.
You've heard it.
Yeah, I want to do it.
If you're Radio Andy, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Meet the TFX, the newest member of the Makefield TF family. The TFX is a half-moon shape with gorgeous lines and aesthetics, but most importantly, the TFX marries the already powerful features of the VS and TF families through the maximum versatility of the famous Makefield X3 weight system. To view the stunning new TFX, go to MakefieldPutters.com. Now, there are 4 styles. I choose Makefield. You should too.
In season or out of season, the number one place for college sports is SiriusXM College Sports Radio, Channel 84.
Hip-hop channel like no other.
Hey, yo, you got the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan.
It's your homie Ice Cube.
Yo, this is the Queen Latifah.
It's your boy Bush Rhymes. What up, though? It's your boy Big Snoop Dogg. Curated by the greatest. Real hip-hop fans that love hip-hop music. This is for you. LL Cool J's Rock the Bells Radio. Channel 43.
To hear LL Cool J's Rock the Bells Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Yo, the movement has already begun. Where are you?
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
SiriusXM, the home to the best in podcasts, including True Crime with Crime Junkie. 48 Hours.
All I can tell you is a gun went off.
My Favorite Murder.
There's not a single piece of evidence.
Dateline.
We cover the most intriguing cases in the country, from compelling mysteries to in-depth investigations and more.
True Crime podcasts available now on the SiriusXM app, including with all trials and crimes.
Great storytelling with a twist.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Dragon of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to the United Nations. And reparations now, reparations forever. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! Okay, I'm trying to bring the neighborhood together as I've been saying, but I guess people don't like it when it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But you don't have to worry about what time it is. You follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 28 podcast applications all over the universe. On the beautiful September the 26th, 2023. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast. I'm telling you, there's so many things that I love saying when I say this, but you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. Give that some praise. You can follow it on Amazon Podcast, Good Podcast. Really appreciate that. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on Geo Savan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hip Hop Restriction Podcast, Radio Line, Peapod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay. You can also find us on Podcast Republic, I'm telling you, Podcast Prodigy, and also Twitter. I don't really pay attention to Twitter much. I don't like tweeting unless it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You got to tweet at 2 o'clock in the morning? Watermelon off for another one. And I want to say you can also follow, give that some praise. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you got to have a smart TV or you might be sitting there looking at it still twitching. You know I'm asking for $6 billion. That's $6 billion! Yeah, it's going to come. I just feel it. I also want to say my show is a little bit different. Unlike a lot of programs where some of our own brethren, they don't even know that reparations is right on the tip of their fingernails. It's like the remote control. You know how some men like to grab the remote control and they don't want to let it go. It's like a phallic symbol. They hold it so tight. And they always changing channels. But you know the channel I'm trying to get them to change? Stop watching so much sports and follow Reparations now. Reparations forever. Because it's there, and I'm going to tell you how it's there because Big C Sports is finding ways for you to follow it. You don't have to just worry about what comes on CNN News. That also sponsors Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate that. I want to tell you my show is different, as you know by now. I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our life. I know I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. I'm the only show in the universe. I do all my commercials pre-show. It's like they call the pre-roll. Most hour shows, they do a commercial every 15 minutes, and they'll have 3 or 4 slots put in their mind. I always do mine in the beginning. I just keep going and going and going and going. That makes sense to you. And then I do the storytelling. I do the play-by-play. I go runner on first and third. The count's full. The pitch curveball. Swung on. The hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little Reds. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. Gonna get more into that human nature of hitting deep when baseball playoffs get around. I'll be getting back around the back nine of the baseball seasons here. Get more into that, but football's the king right now, if that makes sense to you. Then the show is uploaded to 28 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Dimner Hills, California. And then I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. Really do appreciate that. So many people have their own thoughts about how to do a podcast. And now we got basketball coming back around the mountain just next month. They're going to start tipping off for the preseason, etc. And then I do another thing that I love with Big C Sports Podcast. It is really starting to catch on even more so. I want to say, I talked about it just the other day. If you know anyone that's going through some issues, maybe even thinking about suicide, that you wouldn't even think of someone but in their own life. You got your whole life ahead of you. But I think you can call 911, and I think they call it 5150. And I'm not 100% accurate about that, but if you know of anybody talking about that, then they will send out some law enforcement to get them some help. They'll detain them, I hear, 2 to 3 days, and make sure they get some counseling. And you would think, well, that's what 911 is for. Well, I've been advised, too, because a friend of mine, she unfortunately had a friend who was going through some issues, and she thought the issues were so bad that she might end her life. She was having a tough time in business, and things just didn't seem right, relationship-wise, business-wise. But, you know, this storm shall pass. There's a song called Now the Storm Has Passed by Gerald Levert and Yolanda Adams. It's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my life. It's called Now the Storm Has Passed. So anybody going through issues, this too shall pass. But sometimes you need help, and I want to make sure that Big C Sports is part of getting you that help. If you know any veterans going through issues, we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. 800-273-8255. 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And they really do help people, especially giving someone to lean on, if that makes sense to you. And I love being that part of the PSA from Big C Sports Podcast. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And now Congress is coming around to it to start treating descendants of child slavery the same way they treat descendants of Holocaust. We got to understand that we got to do the same thing for all people, liberty and justice for all. I want to make sure I talk more about that too, coming up on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to tell you there's something I want to make sure I get into. I believe in giving credit where credit is due, and I want to get into the talk of the Associated Press. You can't get much bigger than the Associated Press. And Janie Har, March 29th, 2023, she did a story on reparations. And she called a sports show. And I said, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, what made you call you? What made you call me? She said, because I heard you speak. And you're not like the others. I didn't know what the others were like because she didn't tell me. But she did do an article that was written about Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris. It deals with reparations. So it's not like Big C's the only person in the universe that's talking about reparations. But I want to give her some praise for that, because she could have just written an article about something and driving, but she did not do that. I want to make sure that I do the best I can. It goes back to my thoughts of the parable. Oh my God! I want to say thank you to so many people. Had a call from a friend of mine today. Hadn't talked to him in a while, and we talked about some things. And I told him, whenever you want to come on and talk about what you're doing, then I'll give you 20 minutes. And he's just an amazing man. His name is Alex Cano, and he was running VIP Sports, and then God gave him a different direction. But he's had some words to me today that were very, very touching and near and dear to my heart. I want to give you some praise, Alex, because you're something else, man. Really do appreciate you. That goes back to the parables And the talents in the Bible in Matthew 25:14-30. Everybody can look at this in your own life. In your own life! What are you doing with the talents that God gave you? There was a master who was leaving his house to travel. And before leaving, he entrusted his property to his servants according to their abilities. And he gave each man some talents. One man he gave 5 talents. The second man he gave 3 talents. And the third man he gave 1 talent. And sometimes I look at Big C Sports as a man that gave 1 talent to. Not because I'm not talented, but sometimes I can do as one beautiful, intelligent black man what oftentimes it takes 3 or 4 people to do, sometimes 5 people. I'm not just blowing smoke. Watch every sports show in the universe. How many of them have one beautiful, intelligent black man talking extemporaneously by himself? I like talking to myself. I mean, sometimes you laugh at that, but that's how it started. And oftentimes you got 3 or 4 people sitting on the microphone just yelling and yelling and yelling at each other. And what a shame, because President Abraham Lincoln, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation for us. And we have many of our brethren, they'll just sit up on TV, argue and yell at each other. It's kind of embarrassing when you think about it, because we got a receipt. It's for reparations now, reparations forever. And some guys say, I already got mine, get yours. But what Big C Sports is doing is going to bless not only me and my children and my ancestry and contemporaries and siblings, it's going to bless future generations. This is the part of the show where I have a quiz. You ready? You got 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, what comes after 2? I think 3. At the same time, you can Google Survivor Today Act of 2017. Ready? Read. I mean, read it. I'm talking to educators. I'm talking to the clergy. I'm talking to high school teachers, elementary school teachers, talking to congressmen and senators. The Republicans are having a meeting, a national conference. It's going to be tomorrow on probably many news outlets. Of course, it may be on Fox News. And I want them to also get asked by one of the moderators this question. Google Survivor Today Act of 2017 is, tell me what it says for descendants of chattel slavery. It says the Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Act of 2017 is United States legislation. United States legislation, not Big C Sports legislation. United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress. Not to report to Big C, but to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist governments. I know you want to argue about who won the game. I know some of our brothers, they want to argue about who's bigger, stronger, and faster. But you only earn that. You only learn that on Big C Sports. That's why I say give it some praise, and we give it praise. There's nothing wrong with that. Descendants of chattel slavery, we should be first, because slavery started 1619, ended 1865. Hitler was only in power from 1933 to 1945. And we're still having meetings on the reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. And that's why I want to just say, you got to Google that stuff. Especially our brethren that get on TV and they bamboozle you and they're a distraction. They just argue about, man, I can't believe you think that guy is faster than this guy? Oh, man, you must be out your mind. And they get paid a lot of money to act like that. It's like the story in the Bible, the talents, Matthew 25, 14-30. They've been given talents, and they're just shucking and jiving. And they know it. They know they're shucking and jiving, but somebody putting a paycheck in their mouth. Instead of trying to help descendants of chattel slavery get the money that's owed, they're just talking about who's bigger, stronger, and faster, and that's a shame. And how do they look themselves in the mirror? I don't know. If I was a slave, I would have run away. Really? You got a chance right now to help reparations pass, because faith comes by hearing. Oh, there you go again, Big C, talking about faith and hearing. Well, faith does come by hearing. You know, it takes about 21 days to change a habit, according to social scientists. Well, it's ironic, not even ironic, but the whole world now is talking about what Big C Sports has been talking about. Yeah, we love our football, basketball, baseball, our soccer, martial arts, boxing, MMA, we love all that stuff. Gymnastics, track and field. But we also love getting paid. And when the government owes you a huge debt, even for the Republican debate that's going to be on television on Wednesday, not one of them are going to tell the audience how they want to give back that money in the land that was given in the Homestead Act from 1862 and 1863 to only white people. That's not true. Let me correct that. They even gave it to white Europeans. They wouldn't give it to the people who built this country. And I'm telling you, we got to fix it. I love the California Reparations Task Force because they were mandated by California Governor Gavin Newsom to come up with proposals for reparations. You don't need any more proposals. I just told you. I just gave an assignment. I said, you just copy. We got to copy. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And all you got to do is copy the Survivors Today Act of 2017. And let it read like this. The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2023 is United States legislation that requires the state governors of all 50 states in the United States of America to report to Congress on steps that all 50 states in the United States of America have taken to compensate the descendants of chattel slavery, the survivors, the heirs, and for assets seized and not paid out by the United States government. Similar to that, we don't need any more task force meetings. They just told you what they're doing. Give that some praise. I know it's not as exciting as yelling about who's bigger, stronger, and faster, but the government knows they owe money to the descendants in the form of reparations called repair. Our task force, I'll pay homage to them. Camilla Moore, the chair of the task force, she's brilliant. An attorney for reparative justice. Dr. Amy C. Brown, vice chair, brilliant. The top senator, United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford, he's brilliant. He was responsible for name, image, and likeness. Have a meeting coming up with him in October. Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe, brilliant. Assembly member Reginald Jones Sawyer, brilliant. Dr. Shell Grills, brilliant. Attorney Lisa Holder, she's brilliant. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley, brilliant. And attorney Donald K. Tamaki, brilliant. Part of the task force. Give them all some praise. But I still want to ask all of them about the Survivors Today Act of 2017. Because we have descendants of Holocaust survivors getting paid as we breathe. Are you breathing? Are you breathing? As we breathe and have more task force meetings. As we are breathing. As we are breathing. If you're breathing, you can't say that reparations is not due for descendants of child slavery. You got to get us to breathe. I mean it. Try it now. Are you breathing? I want to thank CNN for sponsoring the spot on Big C Sports Podcast. The Source with Caitlin Collins appears weeknights on CNN at 9 o'clock p.m. This is CNN. Thank you for sponsoring Big C Sports. Also want to deal with an announcement that I made because it's so true. I got this information sent to me by 00 national correspondent of the National Black Wall Street Project, Executive Order 13985, further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. If that makes sense to you. Are you breathing? Are you breathing? By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Again, this was sent to me by 00 national correspondent for the National Black Wall Street Project. On my first day in office, I signed Executive Order 13985, on January 20, 2021, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, which charged the federal government with advancing equity for all, including communities that have long been underserved, and addressing systemic racism in our nation's policies and programs. By advancing equity, the federal government can support and empower all Americans, including the many communities in America that have been underserved, discriminated against, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. We can also deliver resources and benefits equitably to the people of the United States and rebuild the trust in the government. Give that some praise. You got to give it praise. I know it's not as exciting as yelling about who's bigger, stronger, and faster, but that's important. Also, we'll be reaching out from the National Black Wall Street Project. That same letter that was sent to me by Double O, national correspondent of the National Black Wall Street Project. You know, Senator Marco Rubio. It's important. Senator Marco Rubio, United States Senator, Republican out of Florida. Jackie Rosen, Democrat, Nevada. Kevin Cramer, Republican, North Dakota. And Rick Scott, Republican, Florida. They reintroduced the Holocaust Insurance Accountability Act. Well, why would they do that? Because the legislation would allow beneficiaries of Holocaust-era insurance policies to bring civil action in United States district courts against the insurer for the covered policy to recover proceeds due or otherwise enforce any rights under the policy. Rubio first introduced the bill with then Senator Bill Nelson, Democrat, Florida, 2011. It's all about reparations. And now descendants of child slave. Give that some praise. I give Senator Marco Rubio some praise. Now I'm going to send him the same correspondent sent to me by Double O, national correspondent for the National Black Wall Street Project, and ask, what are your thoughts on getting this done for descendants of child slavery? And I also, listen up, universities, because I know this weekend you're going to have all the sports leagues and the TV going to be focused on Boulder, Colorado, to watch the USC Trojans take on the Colorado Buffaloes. It's going to be about Shedeur Sanders and Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley and Deion Sanders. But what they won't talk about, or maybe they will, let me speak life into it. I beg my pardon. I want to correct myself. Maybe, just maybe, they will follow the tutelage of Georgetown University because they pledged $27 million in reparations to be paid to descendants of enslaved people sold to fund Georgetown University. That article was written by Ayman Milner, September 15, 2023. Now, Georgetown, people think of Allen Iverson. They think of Alonzo Mourning. They think of Patrick Ewing. They think of the late John Thompson. I think Georgetown, they need to get praise because they're also going to get a letter with the article sent to me by Double O from the National Black Wall Street Project. Executive Order 13985 by President Biden. But Georgetown University, they're in Washington, D.C. last I checked. And the Jesuits have pledged $27 million in money, land, donations to the descendants of 19th century enslaved people who were sold to fund the highly prestigious institution. The highly prestigious institution that's the tuition is so high you can barely afford to go was created by black labor. According to CNN, the descendants Truth and Reconciliation Foundation confirmed the gift of $10 million from Georgetown and an additional $17 million from the Jesuits in the form of financial retribution and plantation land. At the end of the day, this is just about 272 people. The long-term plan of Georgetown is to pledge over $1 billion to the Descendants Truth and Reconciliation Foundation. According to CNN, the Jesuits made a $100 million commitment to the effort in 2021. Give us some praise. Nobody's perfect, but they're trying to address a wrong. Not by wondering how big and strong somebody is. They're putting their money where their mouth is. Descendants of child slavery are due. We have our receipt, and we deserve praise for anybody that takes their head out of the sand and they want to get that done. I'm so impressed by that. That means a lot to me, and I love talking about that because I don't want to be just somebody who's shucking and jiving on this sports show. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network in the universe, for sponsoring Big C Sports Podcast. I want to get into some things that are always near and dear to my heart before I get into some sports. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning by the name of Aleem Shabazz, also co-chair of the Northern California chapter of the National Black Wall Street Project, and he was talking about little bites. We do things in little bites. Sometimes people think that federal government is going to be the one behind it, and they will, but there's also corporations and universities. They want to pay reparations. They just don't know how. And I'm asking all of them, the President of the United States and the school presidents throughout this country, look at what Georgetown has done. Look at what Georgetown has done to right or wrong. This is bigger than Big C Sports. This is not some loudmouth black man talking about reparations now, reparations forever. These are institutions, academic institutions of higher education. And they are trying to do the right thing. And sometimes, if it's just one black man talking, people might say, oh, he just talking, or he just angry. And some people say, man, you sound angry. I'm not angry. But how angry would you be if you went to go to work or to school and come back and your kids were sold off? Oh, that was a long time ago. But the question is, how would you feel if your children were sold off? When you dropped them off at school and they were sold off. They were stolen and sold off and raped and beaten and murdered. And you say, well, that was a long time ago. Well, look at the trauma that was created in those families when their ancestors were just taken from a continent and then taken thousands of miles away on the boat called the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage? What's Middle Passage? Google it. And then to do the same thing for nearly 400 years of enslavement. And then you realize that what Big C is saying is everybody has a past, but when you have something that's done wrong to you in the past, you go to the court to address the issue, to repair the damage. Things that have happened in the past. I just told you what Senator Marco Rubio is doing. That happened in the past! The Holocaust happened in the past, but as you're breathing, can you breathe? Are you breathing? As you're breathing, they're in Congress right now to fix something that happened in the past. Oh, well, what? They're already doing it. If you're dumb, please hang up, turn off the program. But if you're learned and you're fair and you're decent-minded, how do you dare oppose reparations for descendants of chattel slavery when we have senators, as I just told you, that are talking to Congress right now as you are breathing? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? Well, as you're breathing, they're talking to Congress right now and making sure that reparations for Holocaust heirs are being paid out. But for black Americans, they say, well, we need more meetings. Meetings for what? And I'm asking all of our, even California Governor Gavin Newsom, going to have a conversation with Florida Governor DeSantis for some reason. They need to talk about reparations and what they're doing for our Jewish brethren. Descendants of Holocaust, that's what they call it. That can be implemented and copied for descendants of chattel slavery. It's not that complicated. You know, people do it in school all the time. They copy. They may copy someone's paper. You just copy. You can copycat. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way and give that praise. You got to do that. United Nations is also behind it. The United Nations is for reparations. They had an article that came out on September 19th from Geneva, Switzerland, and also New York City, saying how they support reparations. But also it said it's going to take people of color, descendants of chattel slavery, to be the first ones to promote it. Only Big C Sports is doing it. I look at my brethren on Fox Sports. I look at some of my brethren on ESPN. I look at some of my brethren on the NFL Network. I look at some of my brethren on TNT Sports. And none of those guys, NBC Sports, none of them are championing what Georgetown is doing. Now, if Georgetown has a basketball game, you better believe they'll show up then. They'll take their butts to the stadium then and watch Georgetown play basketball. But Georgetown just talked about reparations, how they're going to pay up. You won't see that on the other programs that they champion as the sports leader. In most of these sports shows, where do they go to find the biggest ratings? Wherever they find black people. University of Colorado and USC would be one of the highest rated TV football programs this weekend. A lot of black men on the field for USC and UCLA. USC and Colorado. UCLA too, but USC and Colorado. They're going to show up to watch black men play sports. Because they get turned on by watching black men play sports. But Georgetown, they love black men playing sports too, the Hoyas. But they've also pledged $1 billion, over $1 billion. Because that's 272 people. You got to give that some praise. Now, what if the United States can follow that plan of Georgetown? Is right there in the heart of Washington, D.C. This is bigger than Big C Sports. I've been talking about it for a long time, but they have the money and the resources and the wherewithal. Imagine when the clergy gets behind reparations now, reparations forever. When we get T.D. Jakes to start talking about reparations, the Potter's House. When we get Joel Osteen to start talking about reparations. There's so many pastors that go to the churches on Sunday and they ask you for the tithe. If you don't pay the tithe, you're robbing God. That's what they tell you. If you don't pay the tithe, you're robbing God. Well, what if you don't pay the descendants of child of slavery? Then who are you robbing? If you don't pay the descendants of child of slavery, like our Holocaust brethren getting paid, who are you robbing? And I would love our clergy, and I know they're going to do it. Because before you ask for the tithe, I want you to start saying reparations now, reparations forever. That's how you should be sincere. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. And I know it's going to happen. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I want to just give a quick praise to where I come from, my beautiful family. On my mother's side, my beautiful great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman. Always giving lots of love in the family, lots of food in the belly. My beautiful great-grandfather called him Pop, from a military man and from a Negro League baseball player known around his church buddies as making some of the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Ever saying, boys, get out of that barn. Can fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And then my beautiful grandmother, my dear, beautiful, loving, kind woman, a seer. Can oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. I believe she's part of the reason I'm doing Big C Sports right now. She still helps me to this day. And then my beautiful grandfather Hezekiah, another one of a person, a seer, can oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, present, and future. Nowadays they call them psychics. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama some praise. Come on, started a Head Start. How many mothers have started a Head Start program, a food program to feed people, and then coach a baseball team, all boys, in an all-man's league? Best person I ever met in my life, always saying rise and shine. Part of why I'm doing Big C Sports now. And then I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, former pastor, he had 2 churches in Oakland. He built the 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. And I talked the way on Big C Sports, the way he spoke in his church, fire and brimstone. He wasn't shucking and jiving. He also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. They were Shell stations. But what I'm most proud of, my granddaddy owned 40 acres of land. It was like the Emancipation Proclamation. He loved the sports too. But President Abraham Lincoln gave us that land. And when he was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the bill. Now the Union was going to lose the war until President Abraham Lincoln asked black soldiers to help join the Union to defeat the Southern Confederate Army and the KKK. And then when he was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson, who was a bigot, he vetoed the bill and gave the land back to the people who tried to overthrow the United States of America. And they never gave it back. You know, only people that can change that is Congress. You know, like they do for our descendants of Holocaust brethren. So they have the roadmap. And then my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland. but the third one in Central California. I remember walking through a hallway. I was 8 years old. She touched me on my forehead. It's 10 o'clock at night. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" I said, "What are you doing up? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at about 8:30. And I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm looking for my reparations." And she said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And I was talking to this morning pastor friend, Alex, that prophesied over some things that are happening. And I just really appreciate it. And I want to thank my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure planes can fly high, so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak, always saying go forward. A voracious reader, always talking sports and politics. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Also helped me set up the very first interview for Big C Sports. There's so many things that God has done that is just so miraculous. My daughter set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. It was the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live games on the Wall Street Business Network. They would normally go to ESPN. But because of 2 black men in the crew, they started advertising on ESPN, on the Salem Media. The Wall Street Business Network. Never forget that. And then shenanigans happen because that's what happens sometimes. But I love you, Days, with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And then my beautiful, handsome, give my daughter some praise. Beautiful, loving, intelligent woman. You gotta trust God, baby. God is not a confusion. If there's any confusion, it's not a God. You gotta look at who made the confusion happen. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, senior, very smart, erudite, a good man, so proud of your son. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspapers to look up stats on players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, now on 28 podcast platforms. But one day, Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports, and you'll see your show come up." And that's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, you can find Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon, and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. And understand this reparations is important. And I love you with everything I got. You can be anything you want to be. And then Big C with all that wealth and knowledge over the years of the great granddaddy coming out of that barn. Always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying, welcome to the show. Reparations now, reparations forever. I want the NFL to start championing that. I got Big C's NFL power rankings. It's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own thoughts about who the best team is. I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that's going on in NFL football. The coach took down the Ravens, but the Ravens are banged up. They did it without Anthony Richardson, but again, Ravens are banged up. And then the Texans did a whipping on the Jaguars. And then I never would have thought that a Cardinal could survive a Cowboy beating. Well, they got beat by the Cowboys, but they came back and won the game, if that makes sense to you. There's different kind of Cardinals down there in Arizona. And then, what do you think about what Miami did, putting 70 points on the board last week down there in South Florida against a team in Denver that looked like they gave up? They looked like they gave up. I don't know if they gave up, but that's what it looked like. I'm going to give you Big C's NFL power rankings. I'm only going to deal with the top 10 teams because that's the way Big C wants to do it. I got number 10 in Big C's NFL power rankings, the Green Bay Packers. Give them some praise. They were down 17-0 in the fourth quarter. They needed 3 scores and 3 defensive stops to beat the Saints. Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? The Green Bay Packers. They pulled it off despite having 5 significant players inactive and then losing linebacker Devondre Campbell to an ankle injury early on. But quarterback Jordan Love out of Bakersfield Liberty High School and Utah State, he was backing up touchdown Aaron Rodgers for many, many moons, and now he's gotten his chance. And what did Tina Turner say? She said, what's Love got to do? Got to do with it? Well, Love got a lot to do with it. And the Green Bay Packers, they got to win over the New Orleans Saints 18-17. I got number 9 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. Give it some praise. Drum roll, please. Cleveland, this is for you. I look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm thinking about Deshaun Watson, an offense that is just going to get better and better and better. In fact, Ken from the National Black Wall Street Project, he loves the Cleveland Browns, if that makes sense to him. They turn in a great effort, a solid day of work with a win over the Titans. I didn't know it'd be 27-3, but Watson's starting to find his groove now, having what's arguably his best game as a Cleveland Brown. And then you have this defense that limited Tennessee to 3 points. The Titans could not escape their own end of the field. They had just 26 yards and 2 first downs on 19 plays. Cleveland, this is for you. Cleveland's a good team, and they're going to make some noise in their division. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Number 8 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. It's a bird. It's a play. No, I'm a Raven. Well, they did take a loss. Not really sure how to count this loss. It was an overtime loss. And anything, they had a lot of players out. The Ravens looked confident for most of their first 2 offensive drives. And they got off to a nice performance in week 2. But then the tide turned 3 plays into the drive with Keenan Drake's bad fumble, Lamar Jackson's lack of ball security, and then backup center Sam Mistipper's bad snap and helped the Colts and put them in position to force overtime. So Baltimore's a better team, but they self-destruction. And then Jackson did not record his first incompletion until the 3rd quarter. He ran for 101 yards and 2 scores. But they had too many missed opportunities. I'm still going to say they're still in Big C's top 10. I put them at number 8. But they had a chance to win that game, and they played a bad game. I'm still going to keep them at number 8, if that makes sense to you. I have number 7 in Big C's NFL Football Power Rankings. Give us a praise. The Detroit Lions. Detroit, I'm telling you, this team, they got worked over by Seattle in week 2. But they didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. The performance Aaron Glenn's unit put forth in week 3 against Atlanta is more like what the Lions do when they're in the cage with the Falcons. The Falcons don't yet have a dominant offense, and they use unique challenges for many defenses. Atlanta tried tackling defensive back Jerry Jacobs and Brian Branch after the week 2 coverage challenges. But I'm telling you, there's something about this team, Detroit. They play like a bunch of lions, and they're a better team. I mean, they beat Kansas City in week 1. They got had in week 2 by some good old boys. And now Seattle's playing pretty good football. But to see them beat the Falcons, it shows you this is a team, even if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to challenge in their division. And I think they'll make the playoffs because Chicago's down. Green Bay's good. Minnesota's struggling. But I got them where I got them, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now I got to get to another team in the power ranking, number 6 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. Drum roll, please. How about those Cowboys? Cowboys are 2-1, and it looked like they got their butts beat down in Arizona. But a lot of people got to know there were some police officers. They were called a 911 call, and some good boys said they saw some 9 feet tall creatures. And the police showed up and said, next time you see those good old boys, don't call us. And I think some of those guys were signed by the Arizona Cardinals. Because even with Trevon Diggs lost for the year, the Cowboys should not be having games like that. Going forward, it's easy to excuse the offensive issues, given the absence of 3 starting linemen, and that's why they lost. They had defensive breakdowns in the first half, with proof of a quality and creative offense that can put this team in an uncomfortable spot. You can run the ball on the Cowboys, not Michael Parsons. Whenever you see him, go the other way. The secondary, save for maybe Stephon Gilmore, had a tough game too. In Arizona, they went in there and played like they should be ranked higher in Big C's power rankings, but Dallas had a lot of players out, and I'm going to keep them number 6 in Big C's power rankings. Number 5 in Big C's NFL power rankings. Give us a praise. that the Buffalo Bills, I'm telling you, this team, they put a whipping on the Washington Commanders. The Bills put together a really impressive performance, outclassing previously unbeaten Washington. For 4 quarters, Buffalo's defensive line, they beat them up, and they beat them up good. And when they went down hard, like the late great Al Davis. And then the Bills' offensive line was equally dominant, giving quarterback Josh Allen out of Fireball High School and Kings River College, and then University of Wyoming, most clean pockets. I mean, this guy was had him a lot of room to move around in the pocket because the offensive line protected him so well. If the Bills play like this in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, then you might want to crown. You want to crown them. Miami says not so fast. We'll get to that when we get there. Number 4 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, I'm an eagle. Give me some praise. But the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm telling you, there's something about this team. They lost the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles have shown a lot of what they can do. Not all of it. But when you think about Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, the offensive line is really solid. They're strong defensively. Their pass protection was improved against the Buccaneers. And then you got A.J. Brown. That good boy can catch the ball. And if there's any doubt that you don't want to get hurt, they got, please, Jalen, don't hurt him. This team, they're just going to get better. The Eagles will try to will their way into the end zone, but they're rounding into form. Usually the team that loses the Super Bowl, they don't even make the playoffs the next year. But this team, they're playing some really good football, and I'm gonna see them stick to it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got number 3 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. Give them some praise. I got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 2-1. The Chiefs needed a game like they had Sunday, in which they rolled over the Bears. Just like the Bad News Bears. They don't play offense. They don't play defense. I would have think if they were the 85 Bears, might have been a different outcome. But a Week 1 loss to the Detroit Lions, and Big C called that also. Patrick Mahomes, he dissed the ball around like he was handing out cookies or Big C burgers. The run game was the best it's looked since the Super Bowl. And the defense allowed 4 touchdowns this season. One was a pick 6. One was a garbage time score. And then you want to realize they make you earn it. But Andy Reid has a good team. The referees need to chill up better on his new right tackle. It's still a pretty comfortable football team. They're going to get better. I know they're making the move. They should be undefeated, but they did get beaten by the Detroit Lions earlier in the year, game 1. The Big C told you they would, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got number 2 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. Give us a praise. I got the Miami Dolphins, number 2. Yep, number 2. Number 2, Big C, you must be out of your mind. Well, the 1972 Dolphins, they don't have to panic just yet. A team averaging 30 points and 462 yards of offense per game on the road. They came home when they put up 70 points. But I'm going to say Denver thought the game was going to be on Monday night. Not Sunday. 726 yards. Imagine what they would have done with Jalen Waddle on the field. Now, New England held Miami to 389 yards and 24 points in Week 2. And New England's looking much better now. At the same time, you got Tua Tagovailoa, who's looking like the guy they wanted him to be. And now they're playing with the 1972 Dolphins. Get out of their robes thinking, wait a minute, is this team going to challenge what we did? No, they're not. They're not going to challenge what you did. But they do have a great run games. They're responsible for 5 of the fastest individuals in the league. 3 of them right now. Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, and I'm going to say even their entire offensive line, because they're blowing open holes for these guys. The Miami Dolphins are a really good team. They don't like the no-name defense that was on the 72 team, and on the offense, Larry Sonka, Bob Greasy. This team is a lot better team than the 72 team that went undefeated. They're bigger, stronger, and faster. But that 72 team, they did go undefeated, and they won a Super Bowl, and you got to give that praise because they earned it. They earned it, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now I gotta say number one in Big C's NFL football power rankings. Give it some praise. The San Francisco 49ers. They're 3-0. And I'm telling you, Big C picked them to win 35-14 on last Thursday night against the Giants. They won 30-12. So I said they win by 21, they won by 18. Vegas had them at a 10-point spread. All's fair in love and war. But I'm going to tell you, there's something about this team that I really love watching. In fact, I want to give them some praise. I want to give them some praise, because they're praising them in Denver Hills, California. You look at Brock Purdy, and he's playing good football. He was shaky early, but he adjusted, and then the defense is an amazing defense. They swarm to the ball. They make big-time plays with big-time players. And any team looking to mimic that defensive approach to the Niners is going to be carved up because they can throw the deep ball to Ayuk. They can throw the short ball to the running back out of the backfield, McCaffrey, and also Kittle and Jennings. And then at the same time, they can run the ball with Deebo Samuel or McCaffrey. They have it all. I really like Brandon Ayuk when he gets back into the saddle, but the team appears to be on the same page as their past Super Bowl teams. This team is ready to knock on that door. It's been in 3 of the 4 previous championship games, and now it's time. The Cardinals coming to town on Sunday in San Francisco. They can't look past them because this is a team, they understand each other very well, but I expect the 49ers to do what they've always done. That's 49ers win, and 49ers win now. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own thoughts about who the best players are and the best teams are. And when it comes to NFL football and college football, there's a lot of great things happening in the world of sports. I really do like Big C's NFL football power rankings brought by T-Mobile, America's fastest and largest 5G network. Give that some praise, all fair and love and war. But I also want to make sure that I extend an olive branch when I talk about reparations, because the NFL, they're almost there. At the end of every end zone, you see end racism on one end, right by the goalpost. On the other end, it says it takes all of us. And that's true. And at the same time, they're still quiet about it because they don't have shows devoted to reparations now, reparations forever. But the United Nations is. Georgetown is doing it. We have senators right now talking about reparations. The NFL has the eyes of the whole world. And if you want to really pay homage to the men that make you a $15 billion industry, that's black men, about 70%, 70-75%. And we need to support, in my opinion, I just want to give some praise to United States Senator Marco Rubio. I want to give some praise to United States Senator Stephen Bradford. I'm going to do what I can to have those two gentlemen talk. I'm meeting with Senator Bradford coming up in October. Oh, there you go again, Big C, talking about meetings. It's meetings that help things happen. I want to give some praise to Jackie Rosen, Democrat in Nevada. I want to give some praise to Kevin Kramer, Republican North Dakota. I want to give some praise to Rick Scott, Republican Florida. Now, they too can add on to what they're doing because they reintroduce a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. They need to be asked the question, what are you doing about descendants of child slavery rights? And give that some praise. Because it's not just me now. The United Nations are pro-reparations. It's not just Big C Sports. I want to ask other brethren, not all of you, just the ones of you who are not afraid. I know some of you are afraid. And you refuse to talk about anything other than who's bigger, stronger, and faster. I understand that because some of you don't have the guts. And that's okay if you're afraid. I know you're a grown man, but you're still afraid to talk to Massa about what the United Nations is doing, about what Georgetown is doing, about what these senators are doing. It's time now for the senators of child slavery to get their support and not be afraid about it. Even if it's just Big C Sports, you either lead, follow, or get out of the way. Imagine when we get some of the other programs and the other sports leagues, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, when it says end racism, you end racism by reporting what Double O told me, national correspondent for the National Black Wall Street Project. Executive Order 13985. President Biden signed it. But we have to champion that. And if you're afraid, just don't be afraid. Just follow Big C Sports. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can either call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off. But don't drink and then get behind the wheel of a car. The life you save may be your own or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, now you know what time it is. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. With all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because here in Big C Sports talk about reparations, made me want to dance on my feet. If that makes sense to you. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through it, pick up the phone, call 911. Because things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now you know what time it is. I told you the United Nations is for reparations. That Georgetown is for reparations. That Senator Marco Rubio is for reparations. I told you that Senator Stephen Bradford is for reparations. Well, how about you? We're going to honor President Abraham Lincoln. What did he say? What did he say, Curry? He said reparations now, reparations forever. Let's honor a little bit louder, like we just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln say? Google it, instructors. Google it, clergy. Google it, lawmakers. He said reparations now, reparations forever. We're saying like we just won the championship. United Nations is saying it. Georgetown is saying it. Senators are saying it. You can say it too. What did President Abraham Lincoln say? He said reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.